Hi, this is Dear Damson, and today we are going to do a video on brushes and what we can do with the brushes, type of brushes, and how I use them. And yeah, it's gonna be a short tutorial. Let's have some fun. We are going to do a super short tutorial on brushes, types of brushes, and the way I use them, and hopefully that's going to be helpful. And also wanted to share two different handles. Like we have a long handle and we have the short handle, and obviously the short handle you want to hold it in your hands closer to the bristles, and obviously canvas is going to be much closer, but the long handle we can put some distance between us and the canvas, and we are holding it pretty much like this. So we can go and hold it any way we want. We can even hold it at the tip, the end of the brush, and we can do brush strokes a little bit further. When you're holding it, obviously the handle it's kind of covering most of your palm. It's going to be much easily controlled, and when it's far away it's a little bit harder to control. But this is why there is long handle brushes, and I love them. Obviously if you're painting up close, you don't want to use the long handle brushes because they'll be in your face. It could be in your face. And I have laid out a few different brushes, and I'll let you know what I am using them for and which ones I actually never use, and some brushes I don't even buy just because it's the way I paint. They just don't serve me any purpose. But there's tons of different shaped brushes, so we're going to cover the most popular ones. The first one is a flat, and the flat brush is used a lot. This one also is a flat brush, but it's a very small flat brush. And what do we have on the flat brush? We have a flat side. Now between this one and this is another looking flat brush, but it has slight angle to it. So this is one of my favorite brushes. So these two I probably use the most, and my next one that I use the most is a round brush. And obviously they come in different sizes, so you can find a smaller brush that it's angled, and you can find really big one angled brush that can serve you almost the same. So there is a baby flat or small flat. There is a tiny torture flat. So every small brush I pretty much call them torture device. This is a brush that I use only when I'm painting something pretty big. But this brush is for a lot of times for something more liquidy. So it's a broom brush, and the broom brush just absorbs tons of liquid, so you can cover a bigger surface and it looks like a broom. But this one and this one pretty much serve the same. So this one you can use for your super watery acrylics, or mostly I'll use it for the watercolors. So I'm gonna put this away because whatever I'm showing you with this, you can pretty much do with this one. And if I make it wet, let's make it wet, and I'll make it wet and I'll squeeze it, and it's absorbing a lot of liquid. And this one, if I make it wet and squeeze it, it's not absorbing as much. So this one will be good for your watercolor if you want to cover a bigger surface with it, but we'll just put it away because I'm not going to dirty it with acrylics. This one is a brush that I never use. It's a fan brush. It's being used by a lot of artists. I just don't find myself going to it. I probably have used this once or twice. This one I love, and this one is a filbert. And what's the difference between this one and a brush that I don't buy, which it's the brittle? And let's take a flat brush. This one has a very rounded top. This one has a flat top. And there is a brush between those two that has a gently round corner. So pretty much it looks just like this, but it has a flatter top. And that's a brush that I just don't buy, because between those two, I can manage without that one. It's used for, let's say, people that like one stroke. You can use it for shading and things like that. Same as this, which is the filbert. This one is a round, and also this one is a round, and you can find much bigger round brushes. So there is your round brush, and what is it? It's round. It has completely round top. And the round brush, a lot of times I'll find myself trying to always preserve them, and this one is a little bit overused, so the front is starting to spread, and this one is almost brand new, so the front is still coming nicely together. And then I have the torture devices, which are the tiny baby brushes, and they're for details, which you can barely see the bristle is tiny. This one is the rigger, which is really long bristles, and you can use it again for the tails, but you can do more like longer lines with it. And then there is one in between those two. So all these brushes, I have them because I find myself using them from time to time, but that is kind of like last resort. The way I paint, I just don't seem to go too much to those, maybe for my signature. So let's move them on the side, and then I'm gonna use black so you guys can see it, but pretty much I'm gonna do a few brush strokes with each brush just to show you what I do with them. And I'm gonna go between a bigger and a smaller version of the brush. So I'm painting with acrylics, and on my YouTube, you can find exactly what acrylics I'm using and where to find them. I have links. So I loaded my flat brush, and if you notice, the way I'm loading it is I'm brushing, instead of going around, because that's gonna mess up the bristles, I'm going back and forward, and I loaded my brush. So with my loaded brush, I can do pretty fast coverage. Also, this brush for me could be a line brush too, because if I turn it sideways, do you see what happened? It is very thin. So I can go and do very long lines. I can push gentle, I can push a little harder, and then my lines will get bigger and bigger. I can go a little bit in a diagonal. So this brush for me has so many purpose and I can use it in so many different ways. Let's make a little wiggle and wash it, and pretty much the same you can do with the smaller brush. So let's turn this one low, and the same thing. I'm gonna go in here, load my brush by brushing left to right using the flat side, and I can cover, I think I need a little more water, cover the surface, or I can use it as a line brush. And with this, I will have more control over my line, so I can take a line all the way and seem pretty straight. The faster I go, I can fake a straight line much easier than if I go slowly, because my hand has a lot of shake or movement. But if I go fast, it seems like I can fake it much better to make a straight line. So this is our flat brush. Now angle brush pretty much is the same thing, except that with the angle brush, I have this beautiful point. So if I'm going around in a place, I can do tiny little points. Now, can I do this with a flat brush? Yes, but it makes it more difficult because the angle is going to help your arm. So if I go with the flat brush, I can almost do the same, but you can see how the point on the angle brush is a little bit better. So it's easier for your hand. You can do absolutely the same thing because it's angled and my arm is angled, comparing it to the surface. I can still go and do this. I can still go and on the side and use the big side and have plenty of coverage. But that tiny little point, it's going to give me a place where I can go in and out much easier. So if I want tiny little fill in a little area, the angle brush will be a little bit easier to handle. So with this one, which is the filbert, I'm gonna use, let's use orange. What you can do is you can use it for smoothing things around. I'm moving it from side to side. It gives me a softer edge if I'm looking for the edge. Also, I can do little petally looking things. But pretty much this is a brush that I barely go to because I will do the same thing with my round brush. And let's use magenta for the round brush. So my round brush can do the petals and I can smudge things around and blend with the round brush too. I also can do the same thing almost with a flat one. So the brushes, they will make it easy on you, but once you kind of play around with your brushes, there is the petal with a flat brush. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit not as defined as those two, but the way I paint, that will still be okay. I can do the whole painting with a flat or angled brush and still be okay. So what does that mean? Just play with your brushes and see what you can manage. Baby flat brush, I'm not gonna even go there, but this one, if you decide to go from a detail brush or this one for lines, I will prefer this for lines. Obviously the baby brush, I can do tiny little dots somewhere. I can do extremely fine lines. The lesser I touch, the finer the line. Now, because it's very short on the bristle, I cannot load a lot of paint. So that's why I will go to something that it's still small, and it's still small, but it has a longer bristle. So this one is definitely for, again, it could be for details, line work, but again, why would I want to use this when it's not going to hold that much water when I can use a flat brush and do the same thing? Now if I use the tippy of the brush, I can really do little swirlies. But if I'm doing this, I'll probably be painting on a face or something like that. I will take a little bit of a shorter brush and I'll go to, let's go to a different color. And again, when I'm loading the brush, I'm trying not to spread the bristles. I'm trying to keep everything nice together. So I'm loading it, starting from where the brush, where the bristles are connected to the tip. And I can do the same thing. Let's get a little water. But it doesn't hold for me enough paint unless I'm trying to do tiny little details. Then maybe I'll go to that. But most of the times I will not bother with those unless I'm signing my name or really touching up, barely touching. Okay, let's do the fan brush. I'm gonna open a new, actually let's rip this apart so I can flip it around. So the fan brush, what can we use it? We can use it when we are doing, let's put, what does that look like? It's like a really fast tree. I don't go for this brush. For me, this brush, it's not working as well as I can use the other brushes. So that doesn't mean it's not gonna work for somebody else. There, I'm doing a kind of like a pine or something. So, and orange, pink, magenta. Since I said orange, those trees don't go orange, but why not do orange? So I can do a few different shades of that in greens and create really fast forest. And it gives you details. But this is pretty much, you can do the hair of animals. I don't do this. You can move it around and create different brush strokes. But here's what I did. I was experimenting today. I had 3 brushes that were absolutely the same. They were round brush. And I used my pliers to flatten it and see what happens, because I was trying to experiment and see how flat brush happened. And I'm like, probably that's exactly what happened, because in the beginning, all brushes were round brushes. And in one point, a flat brush happened or other shapes. So I squished this one and it became a fan brush. So I'm gonna see, and honestly, I feel like this one that I made, it looks better than this one because it has a little bit more of a shape. So I can use the tip of it, or I can put more pressure and use the whole brush. So it was a very, very cool experiment on that. Then I flattened it a little bit less and it totally looks like a filbert. And let's see what it's gonna do. Yeah, so pretty much my round brushes, by flattening where the bristles are being held, became a fan or filbert. And this one almost looks like a triangle brush. Not exactly, but very, very close. And the triangle brush pretty much looks like a triangle. So it's really, every single brush's name, it pretty much tells you what it is, what is the look. But that's it. So I'm gonna put that aside, and what we're gonna do is we are going to do a Damson. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna use this to sketch a square in the middle of my canvas area, and that's done. And we're going to do a Damson. What is a Damson? Is a fruit. It comes from the Damson tree, and it's circular, but it has one part here that goes a little bit inwards, and then the stem is coming out. We can do the stem if we want to or not. We can add a leaf for more interest, and the leaf of the Damson is pointy. So I'm gonna come out of the canvas and I'm gonna pretend the light is coming. So the sun, there is our sun, it's coming from here. So it's going to hit this area and this area. We still have a shadow right here, and also we're going to have a shadow on this side. All right, so what color is the Damson? And let's see, from all those brushes, what we're gonna use. We're going to use a round brush. And where is a bigger round brush? I'm gonna use a small round brush, that's fine. I have a bunch of colors here, but pretty much what I'm gonna use blue and magenta. It's going to give me a beautiful purple. With that, I probably will go with some of the white, and I just might use just plain magenta. Now, I will pour a little bit. Let's clean the middle part of my palette, because I have black in there, and I'm gonna use it for mixing colors. There it is. I am going to add a little bit of a really nice dark red. All right, so let's do it. Glasses are on. Now I can see what the heck am I doing. I'm gonna take a little bit of magenta. I'm gonna steal some of the primary blue. Actually, I think that's a ultramarine, and it gives me a beautiful purple color. If I mix primary red and the blue, primary blue, it will not give me that color. So magenta is your color to have when you're trying to mix purple, when you're trying to make your own purple. Now I can use the purple that it's been given to me, which is a little bit darker, and I can still create that. But I can also make it with magenta. So what am I doing? I'm just creating the dark side of my little Damson fruit, and then I'm gonna just slightly lighten it going to the center. But I'm gonna keep this part and this part, which looks like a little bottom, kind of separated, because this one also, taking a little bit purple and black, this one, it's in a deeper shadow than the one right on the top, the two cheeks on the top. So I'm gonna take a little bit of a orangey red. Gonna apply that there. Gonna go in, grab some white. Gonna go in with the white. So do you see how I'm mixing it without mixing it? I'm just going from one color to another and applying. Wash my, let's get a little magenta here, get in. Push a little bit more towards that circle of light. I'll take a little bit of, let's take the dark red. Just putting other colors, not necessarily there in it, but if that fruit is shiny, things that are round, it will have the effect of a mirror, so it will reflect some other light from the surrounding. I don't have green, so let's take some green here. From all the now I can make my own green if I'm using blue and yellow, but I took a little bit of green, so we're gonna start with that. And I just splattered paint, so that's okay. So I'm gonna make the dark side of the stand, then I'm gonna take a little bit of yellow and apply a little bit of that yellow on the top. Take some water. And when I'm going and doing that leaf, I'm leaving imperfect edges, because that is going actually to help me. Let's go a little darker on this side. Let's get a little blue in my green. We'll make it darker. blue. Let's get a little orange and blue together. Gives me darker green. I'm gonna take some lemon or primary yellow, and I'm gonna do the top part of the leaf. So do you see how patchy that is? Wash that, go to black and purple. Create a little bit of a shadow here. Also my line right on this side. A little bit of shadow right under my leaf. I'm leaving a lot of patchy areas. Take my magenta but add a little bit more blue. So it's gonna be a bluish purple. So I still have the magenta but I have more blue. And I'm adding water, and what I'm gonna do is ground my little fruit. And I was thinking, what am I supposed to paint today? We painted leaves a few times. We planned them differently, so at least you're learning how to do it either with rectangles or ovals. Let's add a little bit more blue. So instead of keeping my shadow purple, because my fruit is purple, I'm gonna go a little bit more dirty blue and get that shadow here. I could leave this, let's go to Filbert, so that's our other brush. Blending happens awesome with that. Adding a little bit of white to my bluish purplish. And I'm gonna start with the top here. Almost wash it, but some color is present on it, and give it a wash. So it's almost like what we do with the watercolor. So if you watch the watercolor videos, you're pretty much repeating that right here with the acrylic. So we want a very, very light background. And let's get a little bit of brown in our purple. So it's like really muddy color. Wash it a little bit, and I want it transparent. And I created a little bit of a table, something that my fruit is sitting on. And this paper is helping me. Okay. Now I can go in with a little bit more details or leave it the way it is. That will be up to the artist. If you want to go in a little bit on the details or leave it the way it is. I'm gonna go and put a few brush strokes to the side, and it's like a dirty brush with a little bit of yellow in it. So the brown purplish with a yellow, and I gave my leaf a little bit more of a leafy look. And this is it. So I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna add more of a light right here. Let's add a little bit of white on my stem and my leaf, and that's it. So this is going to be our painting tutorial for today. Thanks for watching. It's super fast. So we went from brushes, and pretty much we used 2 only of the brushes we talked about.